Okay, now tell me this. What do you think is better to do? Invest $3,000 for a low-income, student to go to college. That's $3,000 for somebody low income, or $30,000 for a millionaire to have extra spending money every year. Well, we're spending $33,000 or $30,000 or more, to give to millionaires to have extra spending money every year on the through Social Security. And we're students who are trying to go to college, barely get an average of $3,000 to go to college. Now, I don't know about you, but it seems to me as an individual to grow in this country, or the country to grow as a whole, we have to invest in education, right? And so the Pell Grants, or the grants that are given out in education, man, I mean, that barely covers it. And so everybody says, oh, we don't have money to do it. Well, we do. We're just not looking in the right places. Now, here's some other places. Look at this data here. Okay, here's the Pell Grant data. Okay, about 9 million people are now getting Pell Grants, and that's about $30 billion a year. So as a country, we're spending $30 billion a year to 9 million. These are low income. You have to be low income to get this money. Get that. Okay, now look what we do with Social Security. We got over 500,000, people making $250,000 or more that are getting $16–17 billion every year. Yeah, what do they need that for? If you're making $250,000 every year, and you're going to get another 30 grand, why? You don't even notice it, kind of thing. And what could be done with that, for a student to go to college is incredible. Well, here's another thing, and this is all tax data. I just went to the IRS, looked at the data, and this is all itemized. Anybody go look at unemployment compensation. In other words, you're out of work, you go to the unemployment office, and you get money, to live on. Well, millionaires can get that. That's right. So people making $250,000 or more, look at they're almost getting $500 million. There's like 90,000 people, who, and they get an average of $7,000–8,000 a year, to live on for that. And sure, it's, I guess they deserve it. It's not illegal or anything like that. But as a country, we say we don't have money to pay for certain things that we really need, I feel, like education. When we're giving money to things that certainly people don't need it. Well, here's another thing of the tax structure that's interesting to me. The mortgage interest rate deduction. Okay, you get millionaires deduct about $45 billion. That's right, in tax money, because they get an interest rate reduction on that. So they're getting money that they wouldn't pay to the government because they bought $1 million home. So again, as a society, what's more important to invest in? The millionaire having a better house and saving a few bucks or whatever, that is really, look at, it's 1.5 times the amount of money that we're giving to young kids who go to college, or old kids, any age. I mean, that Pell Grant money is for anybody of any age, and it's income tested. So you can't be rich, to get this money. And we need smart people out there. We're competing with everybody in the world that, their education system's getting better than ours and everything like that. And we complain, oh, we don't have money to do stuff. Well, we have money. It's just tying up doing things we probably don't need. And so that's why, I mean, to me, if we're going to invest anything in our country, it seems, God, education seems like a no-brainer. And here's the best thing, too, about where to get education. Look at the average cost of college nowadays. I mean, here's just tuition. Okay, money, just to pay for, not board and staying at the dorm or all this other stuff. Looking for a 2-year public school. These are community colleges, okay? About $3,000 or so. That's right. That's the tuition for a whole year of college. What a bargain. Where else can you get that kind of bargain? Because you won't get it at your state university. Look at that. The state university averages $9,000. That's average. So, that's for a year. So a year at a community college, you're taking the same courses as a year at your state university, but you're paying 3 times as much. Well, that's crazy to me. If you're earning money and you go to one place and you're getting 1/3 of the price, it's the same thing that somebody's charging 3 times as more. That's nuts. Okay, here also, if you're out of state and going to that public school, so you live in Virginia and you want to go to University of Maryland, that's $22,000. So you go to the community college the first 2 years, $3,000 a piece, or pay $22,000 a piece. How's that? Gosh, so that's what, $40,000 you're just, using, and who knows why, So the most important thing is the education. Not the most important thing is who you're going to be partying with, I would think. Or how about a private university? I mean, these are the places. Gosh, private universities are $30,000. So you could go to a 2-year community college, get 2 years of education for $6,000, or to go to 2 years to private college for $60,000. So you want to pay $6,000 or $60,000. Man, that's why I think community college is the best, bargain in the world. And what's out there now that is growing the fastest, unfortunately, is for-profit universities. Look at that. Now, the average they're charging $15,000. So that's more than 4-year, public schools, and certainly 5 times more than community college. And what's disheartening about them is that where they get their money from and how they spend their money. So that's why I think that's the worst buy in higher education is any for-private university. Look at this data that I have. This shows you how these people spend their money, where they get their money. Look at the thing on the far right-hand side, the private for-profit colleges. Look at that, 90% of their money is coming from you. They get out of tuition. They get it all from you. So they're going to spend so much money getting that money from you, and that's where the money goes. You look at it in the public schools, that's the one on the left. Look at it, it's like 15% of the money, comes from tuition. So they're financed other ways, whether it's from investments or from, from federal government, state government. So this is what you and I are paying for anyway. So that's why, to me, a public university, you're already paying for that. So why are you going to pay somebody else to have a big expense account? These people, that own, or in Wall Street, all these big schools now, these universities are traded on Wall Street. And they're just trying to make money to make money. I'm not sure about their education values. Here's another thing about be careful for-profit universities. This is how much they spend on educating people. Look at that first bar on top. Okay, so the first bar, you see $7,413. That's how much your state school, the public university, spends on teaching. Okay, $7,000. Okay, the one on below that, on the bottom of those 3 bars is $3,500. That's how much a for-profit spends on education. So the for-profit people are spending half the amount of money on educating you as a public university. And really the king of these are the private for-profit colleges. So these non-profit colleges, I'm sorry, that they are really, look what they spent, $15,000 on education. So there's no non-profit private colleges spend the most on education. Next is the public universities, and the least that's spending on education, the for-profit, and they're charging you the most money. Now that's crazy, isn't it? Well, here's another thing, another graph, help you explain about what's going on in education. Look at that, how people, where they're, how much they're spending. Okay, what is the revenues? In other words, this is the tuition and things like that, the average. So an average 4-year public college, so that your state university. See, in the last 5 years, the average tuition went from $6,000, $6,800 to $8,300. So that went up, almost 20% or whatever. Their tuition went up. Look at the 2-year. That's the community college. Didn't go up at all. Man, this is the best bargain in the world. It's the community college. Less than $3,000 a year, you can get a great college degree, or on the way to it, the 4 years. So that's why what I did, I'm getting Social Security for a couple of years now, and I don't need the money. I mean, I don't live on $1 million every year, a hell of a lot less. But I took my Social Security money and started a scholarship at the community college. And that's what I'm trying to do with other people. Man, people are getting government money that don't need it. I mean, these people, you know, the millions of people that are getting Social Security money or unemployment money or big contracts, or we have a lot of people in this country that are getting two, you know, double dippers. They have two pensions and stuff like that. And man, for $1,000, a kid can go to college, you know. I mean, that's a wonderful bill. You know, where I live in Bethesda, Maryland, these people go to lunch, you know, these million-dollar lawyers, and they spend $1,000 on a couple lunches with their buddies. Yeah. And here we live in a country where, man, you got the best bargain in the world to get an education that we could get. Anybody can get an education now for $1,000, you know, or just a little bit over. Now, what could be better than that? You know? And so I started the scholarship fund. And I just started a few years ago. I'm trying to encourage other people to do it because, I mean, you talk, you know, education is so important. You know, community colleges are the best deal this country has to offer and the best opportunity for anybody to get ahead in the world. Unless you have a lot of money, fine. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody with a lot of money and want to go to Harvard or whatever, you know, if they could get in. Actually, the data show it doesn't really matter in the long run, but that's another story. But, you know, to get ahead in life, no matter what age, you can be 50 years old, go to the community college and for $1,000 or whatever. And what I'm doing is putting my Social Security money into a scholarship fund at my local community college in Frederick. Frederick Community. Actually, I was trying to do Montgomery County where I am, but they were crazy. So I went to another one. And somebody would take my money. And they've been delightful to work with, but anybody could do that. You know, if you have extra government money, you're getting money from the government, and you don't need it. I mean, we're here to grow as a society. So we don't have to wait for the, you know, and I'm not motivated to return my Social Security money to the government, right? So this is where I think the government should be spending their money, or my money. So I'm going to do it directly, you know, and I get it to kids who are trying to go, or young adults, or actually I put my money aside just for single parents who are trying to get an education. Like, boy, if you have kids and you're a single male or female parent, it's hard to survive. It's hard to survive no matter what, but even doubly with kids. So that's where my money's going. And I have a website on that. It's, oh gosh, why did I forget it? It's leskocollege.blogspot.com. I went up to the college and interviewed these students to see what they would do with an extra $1,000, because there's a lot of people in this country that have a lot of extra money and probably from the government, particularly around here, government contractors and stuff like that. So instead of, you know, they're getting extra money from the government they probably don't need in pensions or Social Security like me or whatever, man, let's go directly. Well, that's, you know, fighting policy is going to take too long. So if we go directly and get it to the kids who need it, you know, and it's a great bargain for you to invest in and for people to go to more community college. So watch with these kids and how they use the money. Well, they're not only kids, these are adults.
Hi, my name is Dennis Alive, and gas now costs me $200 a month, and I put the $1,000 towards gas. Hi, I'm Simon Kinderconnect, and if I had $1,000, I would use it to buy books for school, because every year I spend about $700 on books, so that would definitely help me out a lot.
I'm Rachel Geranides, and if I had $1,000 to put towards school, I'd probably use it for books because they cost almost as much as tuition. For my chemistry class alone, my book cost like $350, and the class was just almost $400.
With the cost of a semester of education hovering around $1,500, $1,000 scholarship can make a huge difference in a student's life.
Just hold it up like this. If I had $1,000, I would use it for when I got to my 4-year school, so I can have some spending money because I probably won't have a job. So, thank you.
I'm Alexander Leone. If I had $1,000, I would use it to help me get my 2-year degree so I could go to the United States Coast Guard Academy.
I'm Marco Aguero, and if I had $1,000, I would use it to pay for my school at FCC.
I'm Justin Beard, and if I had $1,000, I'd pay for summer classes.
I'm Stephanie Swartz, and if I had an extra $1,000, I'd take 2 more classes.
My name is Evan Thomas, and if I had $1,000, I'd put it towards some books or school or food and transportation.
My name is Karen Crum, and I would use $1,000 to pay for my tuition for classes.
Hi, my name is Dustin Trey, and if I had $1,000, I'd buy a year's worth of school books.
All right, my name is Roberto Levo, and I could use an extra $1,000 to pay for books, rent, some fast food because I'm really poor and I don't have a lot of time. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amber Welsh, and I would use an extra $1,000 to pay for tuition for a better future for me.
My name is Darren Kopp, and with $1,000, I could get a decent down payment on a used car with $1,000 to get to school.
Hi, my name is Andrew Hicks, and if I had $1,000, I'd use it to go to Trevecca Nazarene University, Nashville, Tennessee, to finish college.
My name is Chris France, and if I had $1,000, I would buy everybody I know a pair of rollerblades so we could rollerblade in tandem to school.
My name is Doug Cruces, and if I had $1,000, I would donate it to Japan for the earthquake fund.
Hello, I'm Patrick Glazier, and if I had such money, I would use it for gas.
I'm Gary Ostro, and if I had $1,000, it would pay for my tuition.
I'm Anastasia Lloyd, and for $1,000, I will pay for my summer classes.
My name is Dan Syed, and $1,000 could buy me textbooks, school supplies, maybe even pay for one of my classes.
My name is Erica Matafis, and $1,000 could pay for all of my textbooks for 1 year. Is that good?
My name is Drew Torres. What $1,000 would mean to me would help me benefit, or it would benefit me in an education that I wouldn't get when I was younger. It also would help me invest into a family that I'd get in the future, and it'd be a real, lifesaver, especially if I needed if I needed extra money for my kids in the long run.
My name is Erica Matafis, and $1,000 could pay for all my textbooks for a whole year. Last semester, I paid $500 for just one class for textbooks. Is that okay? Okay.
See, people don't know that.
My name is Chris France, and if I had $1,000, I would throw a little bit of money into the tech club at school so we could actually have a decent budget.
My name is Nicole Young, and $1,000 would mean a semester of food to me, and that's very important.
Hi, my name is Kenneth Melnick, and I'm at school because of a Pell Grant. It will help me in the future to fight for social justice.
I'm Bruce Carpenter, and if I had another $1,000, I wouldn't have to work so much, so then I'd be able to spend more time focusing on my studies.
Hi, I'm Jenna Martinez.
And I'm Angie, her sister.
And we could use $1,000 to give back to our mom who sacrifices to send us to school.
Yes, that would be awesome.
My name is Chris France. If I had $1,000, I would give everyone at the coffee shop a raise so they would give me free coffee.
Hi, I'm Rohondo Harvey, and I could use $1,000 to pay off for school loans and debts that I have.
Hi, my name is Shayna Smith, and I could definitely use $1,000 because that's exactly what it's going to cost for my textbooks next year for the nursing program.